Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna keep hitting you upside the dome piece with crazy topics. The Zo What Morning Show back in the building on TradioV.com. That's radio NTV. T-Radio-V. Don't get it twisted. 855-878-4652. That's the number to dial. You know how I do. Community empowerment. We about to empower the community. You know, I got books. I got community empowerment. This is what we do. Really quickly, books. Please order. Please order Real Men Don't Play by my uncle, Bobby Glanton-Smith. Very, very intelligent brother. He assembled, like if you see the back of the book, you see all of the people that he's interviewed. I mean, legends, man. Sam Watson, Lionel Hollins. I mean, of course, legendary Jim Brown. Don't play yourself. Real Men Don't Play. Go to realmendon'tplay.com really quickly. Support Bobby Glanton-Smith. Also, please continue to support The Rebirth of Seeds, my self-published book. You can go to my website, IamZoeWilliams.com. I urge you to go there now. Do it now, do it now, do it now. Don't play yourself. IamZoeWilliams.com. I appreciate all of the support. Thank you for doing that. Now, in studio, I keep trying to bring resources to the table. The only way for our community to rebuild, reinvest, reinvigorate, just rebuild altogether is to support black-owned companies. And this is what we do here in the community empowerment segment. We got a brother in the studio right now. Incredible name. It's Twee, right?
Yes.
Dad was from Ghana.
Yes.
Brother's name is Isilfi Taylor. Isilfi. Twee language means son of God. Cold name. And got a cold business, yes, too. I'm telling you right now, what's your website really quickly? For people who are just tuning in, you got to go support his website. What's the website?
The website is TaylorInsfin.com.
Now, let me just say something about this brother right here. Highly educated. Went to the private school, high school in Pasadena called Maranatha High. Man, they're going to give you the education you need to make a way in this world. Now, tell us why your business is so important to everybody out there listening right now. What is it that you do?
I always tell my clients, if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it with amazing accuracy, right?
Go deeper. Yes.
So we first take the time to find out where people are today, more importantly, where they want to be in the future, and then help them develop an action plan to get there.
And this is for finance management.
It's for finances. So
wow.
Insurance, so you have life insurance, health insurance, disability, long-term care, investments, right,
yeah.
Investments, estate planning, tax planning.
Wow.
Yeah, everything across the board.
And no matter where they are in their financial situation, you come in, you assess the situation, whether it's bankruptcy, whether it's divorce, child support issues, whatever. You come in, assess, and say, okay, you're right here, plan F.
Right.
We're going to get you back to plan A.
Right.
Right? Man, he's like the FEMA of finance.
Right.
Right? What's the website again? One more time. Pull it up there now. Come on now, baby Teen Wolf. Taylor Insurance and Financial Services. Is there an 800 number?
The phone number is actually 626-356-7637. That's the number in the office.
14 years in business. Top of, what is this here?
Top of the table.
Top of the table. What does that mean? Go deeper.
So there's an industry award called $1 Million Roundtable. It's basically the top advisors in the world, and I sit atop of that distinction.
How about it?
Top of the table producer puts me in the top 1% of.
How about it? The Son of God done came in and became the top financiers. Hey, listen, you're looking for Jesus, looking like Pal Gasol? It's not going to happen. Jesus is here, the Son of God. He's Silphy. He's here now. I'm just telling you, let's get this money together, right?
That's it.
Man, what else is it that you do, and why is it important that people need a financial advisor in their lives, man? How does that, really bring benefit to, say, even relationships?
Yeah.
75% of all relationships break up over money.
Yeah.
So somebody like you could really heal a relationship. Yeah. He's better than Dr. Phil.
Right. I would say so. Right. I always say there's three things that work in life, right? You have people at work, You have money at work, and you have other people's money at work.
Wow.
Right? And we really specialize in the latter two. Right? Your money doesn't get sick. Your money doesn't get tired. Your money doesn't need to go on vacation. Your money doesn't complain. It can work and work and work and work. Right? And so those are the principles that, that we live on. Stop working for your money and allow your money to work for you.
And now, is this for your company or is this for you? 3-time National Insurance and Financial Services Agent of the Year in Los Angeles.
Correct.
Is that you or the company?
That was myself, yeah.
Wow.
So prior to opening my own brokerage this past year, I spent 14 years at New York Life. And so I have a great deal of experience with a large company, was the top advisor in LA last 7 years, top African-American producer actually in the history of the company.
So you've managed athletes, celebrities, you've managed some real big accounts.
Yeah, everything from individuals, business owners, athletes, entertainers, you name it, I've dealt with them.
Now, who wants to get their life together? That's why I bring them on the show. Who wants to get their, everybody in the back racing it, who wants to get their life together? Put his website up one more time. I want people to go there right now. This is a call to action. We got a young brother who broke out on his own. He has his own brokerage, Taylor Insurance and Financial Services. Please go there and protect your investments right now. It doesn't even matter if you're rich or poor. You can help them create a plan to get stable, correct?
Right. It doesn't matter how much you make. It comes down to how much you keep. Right? So that's what we want to focus in on.
This is money boxing, right? It's money boxing. The science to boxing is hit, but don't get hit.
Right.
I guess the science of money is make money, but don't spend it.
Right.
Oh, Jesus. Somebody help us. We got a good brother in the building. Please support his work, man. I appreciate you for coming out to the So What show. And again, before they leave, give that number out one more time.
The phone number is area code 626-356-7637. So our offices are in Pasadena. I'm licensed in over 20 states, so I can work across the country. So, definitely. Don't
play yourself.
Reach out.
Now, with that said, I'm going to keep promoting it until you change your life. blackmastery.com. Go to the website right now. Get this neuro-linguistic program that undoes the effects of crabs in the barrel, Willie Lynch, Jim Crow, all of the social conditioning that made black people feel inferior. Why is this important today? What are we doing? We're doing this. I ain't going to tell you the topic until I come back. But this is relevant to the topic. A neuro-linguistic program that breaks down the self-defeatist victimhood mentality that plagues the black community, narrated by Iyanla Van Zandt? Come on, man, don't play yourself. VeronicaConway.com, blackmastery.com. Go there right now and order. Next thing, Ramo Mart. Go to Ramo Mart. This brother is creating a high-end luxury line of clothes that are rivaling Versace, that's rivaling Gucci, that's right, but he's putting our culture in the clothes. Go to the look at that. Protected by Horace is the name of that shirt. The Horace collar. And of course he's got jeans, he's got clothes for women, but he has high-end stuff. Go there, support. Next thing, hiploose.com. What is hiploose.com? These brothers tailor fine bespoke clothing from scratch. You want a suit, high-end suit? They do it from scratch. They take over 30 different measurements to make sure that that suit only fits you. Brothers own it. High-quality fabrics. It's off the chain. Go to them now. Who else we got on deck? I know we got other people. Pharaonic Designs. I'll keep calling them out. Go to Pharaonic Designs right now. Get you some shirts from these brothers. Again, it's about community empowerment. Look at the brother. I see you, baby Teen Wolf, working the damn website, pulling it all up. These brothers do men and women's fine apparel, T-shirts, and things of that nature. Please continue to support all of these businesses. It's very important that you do so, because at the bottom level of our community is recycling of black dollars. That's how you elevate to the next level when you start buying the police station. Right. You can't buy, that's when you start buying politicians. But you can't buy nothing in this community unless you have the assets, the bread. Right. If you don't have the bread, you don't have no leverage. We got to stop being consumers of everybody else and become consumers of each other. And when that happens, now we've got leverage to do something for real. So with that said, community empowerment, all of the businesses. Did I get all of my websites? Who else did I miss? I missed somebody, didn't I? Just pull it up and I'll know who I missed. Tell me who I missed. Come on, baby, Teen Wolf. Doctrine. Yeah, these kids right here, this kid right here graduated from FAMU. He created, look at the chalkboard website. I love your style, kid. He created a database of notes for students. So if you are in a particular class, he works with the professor of that class, and he gets the notes, and you can buy the notes, and you can buy all of the information from a particular class to make sure you get a better grade. This dude graduated with business, and there's his business, Doctrine.com. Support the brother from FAMU. Hey, that's what we do. Did I miss anything else? All right, we good. Everybody, one more. Oh, AspireHospitality.com. They are the Black Office Max, the Black Staples. They get all of the same stuff from Staples, from Office Max. You don't miss anything, but their prices are cheaper. Why? Hey, if you got an account with Staples, why not get an account with AriseHospitality.com? It's what we do here. Community empowerment. When we come back, a crazy topic. Guests. It's going to be nuts. Woo! It's going to be crazy. So what mornings? TradioV.com. That's Radio NTV. I'll be back at 2.2. Holla!
A whole mess of privileges that I have, and I don't ask for them. They just are there.
Seriously, if you're not white, you're missing out, because this shit...
He's got a Rolls. He's got a Ferrari. My clients buy their kids those cars.
Playmates.
No,
Ladies and gentlemen, back in the building.
I don't think so.
Today's topic. Bobby, you want to talk now that we back online? Look at Bobby, man. This is my uncle.
We talking about fights, man. Uncle Bobby get excited when you talk about fights.
This is my uncle for real right here. Jesus. Back on the Zoe What Morning Show. The crew is in the building. We about to get down to the nuts and bolts of things.
Oh, yeah.
Today's topic is an ill one, and I think it's one that really needs to be dealt with. It's called the white... Listen to this. The White Privilege Show. A penetrating look into race, class, and some white folks' seemingly unconscious sense of entitlement. White entitlement? Is there such a thing? Let's go into a few questions, ladies and gentlemen. First off, what is your definition of racism? Can black people be racist? Is it possible? I don't know. We're going to answer some of these questions today. Here, questions to ask some of your white friends. Ask them this. Do you think black folks are getting an equally high-grade education opportunity in America? If you compare it to the white education. Are you eating a big-ass pickle?
He's from Chicago. He's from Chicago. I can't believe it ain't got a Jolly Rancher in it.
Let's keep going.
Nah, none at the store.
Question to ask your white friends. Do you think black folks in general are getting an equally high-quality medical provision in America? Is the medical different for white folk?
Everything is different.
A scalpel's a scalpel.
The scalpel's different?
They scalpel's a scalpel. Yeah.
Platinum scalpels for white people? I don't know.
I bought some lotion in Walgreens, though, in a white neighborhood, and I swear to God, man, I was not ashy at all for the rest of the day. But I stopped on Crenshaw, and I bought some lotion, and it was some high-end lotion. And it was something about this lotion. I had to use the whole thing in one day. This is a different product than the one I bought in Beverly Hills.
Oh, my God.
But I feel passive.
Let's go even deeper. Why are blacks and Latino males 3 times more likely than white males to have their car stopped and search for drugs when, statistically, white males and their cars are 4.5 times more likely to have drugs when they're pulled over?
Because we're more violent.
Right? I'm just saying.
I know the answer to that.
Let's talk about white privilege. The number to dial is 855-878-46.
That's a great question.
There's no such thing.
I know the answer to that.
You guys not going to let me?
You're making it up.
I'm making it up? All right, well, let's do it then. We're in. I'm throwing the debate to the crew right now. What is white privilege? Have you ever experienced it?
No.
I know you have, Bobby.
I ain't experienced white privilege, but I've seen it.
Give me an example of it.
Well, white people, like you said, you use an example of being stopped by the police. They don't know what that's like to just be going about their business and get stopped by the police. I got stopped one day for walking while black. And I found that to be just over the top. And because I've been stopped more than once, you know, white people are like, what are you talking about? Well, you haven't experienced that. I've seen clubs like in Beverly Hills and Hollywood where they just get shit-faced drunk. And you very seldom, the times I have been arrested and you go to jail, it ain't that many white people in there. Just a handful. So that's an example of the outcome of white privilege.
Well, black men make up 4% of the population of America, yet make up 51% of the population of prison.
As they should.
Is that an example of white privilege, or is just black people just doing dumb shit?
They're doing
Go
dumb
deeper.
shit.
That's an example of manufacturing working. The prisons were built for your 4% ass. It was made with the intent for you to be there, because there is no use for you anymore because you already built the country, and now they're basically like, what are we going to do with these motherfuckers? Okay, we're going to find a way to fuck them over the whole time they're here.
Man, but I tell my son this all the time. I say, listen, my youngest son, too, he's 12. I say, listen, bro, they're going to make money off you regardless. The education system is not designed for the manifestation and the development of self-knowledge. It's designed for you to get a trade and then integrate into an economic society. Like, you're going to have this degree in order to get a job.
Figure out where you are
now,
in the factory.
If you do not, they're going to make money off of you regardless. Because if you look at the numbers in the elementary schools, they know kids who drop out of high school, they making the cots based off of the dropout rate. And in America, 50% of African-American males, right?
Have a cot.
They drop out. They got a cot waiting.
Yeah.
The same people that feed you in the lunchroom at school are the same people that feed you in the child line in prison.
In the prison. That's it.
Yeah,
they're going to make money off you regardless. So
when you're in school, if you're not made into this well-molded battery that they intend to make you into,
wow,
you will not fit in, and you will find your way to one of the cots.
You're going to find your way to a cot.
Or the coffin.
The cot or the coffin.
Cot or the coffin. If you're not the battery that they intend you to be, they try to mold you into be, you're going to be lost out there. You're not going to fit in at a job.
If your poles ain't where the other batteries' poles are, if your voltage, if you are, we trying to make a C battery out of you, and you are a little bit bigger than a D battery. We can't put you where the D batteries go. I tell you what, we're going to put you in this reject battery pile, and what we do is we put all the polarity of these batteries to make other shit.
So what happens is they had those little rooms that they all sit in. In my opinion, I think that Caucasian people have a unofficial meeting every day where they go over what happened with the black people there around, and they be saying stuff like, hey, you know what he said? He had the nerve to ask me why. I fucking believe this guy.
No, wait a minute, Chuck, come in here. You gotta hear this.
The little monkey said why.
I swear to God.
Bobby, an example of white privilege most recently was the reaction to the Donald Sterling episode. Now, a lot of people don't believe that this man is going to continue to own this team for about 5 years, because he's going to fight this all the way to the Supreme Court. No, it's not about his age. He could die any time in between. But he's going all the way to the Supreme Court because it doesn't resonate with him that he's going to give up something he feels entitled to. He paid for that team. He bought those players. And he said, look, I buy them houses and cars and pay their insurance. It never crossed his mind, because of that inbred sense of privilege, that this was a business transaction done fairly. It wasn't like that in his mind. He was like, I own everything within my purview.
You heard about that black hockey player?
Oh, they call him porch monkeys and everything.
Oh, because he scored in the game.
Yeah.
And it's not part of the mass media. You gotta stumble across this information.
No, it was out there too, and it just underneath.
This is the majority of folk.
Out
there who went to that game
and went nuts, you know.
But would you say white privilege is kind of a white denial a white blindness?
No,
like
no.
they're not really aware.
No. This generation is.
Let me ask the question: if most white folks are suffering from the denial/blindness caused by the effects of white privilege, what are the so-called black bourgeoisie suffering from?
Now, they just crazy.
Why do they have an unconscious bias to the plights of disenfranchised black people? Why are they still screaming, pull yourself up by your bootstrap, when there is a systemic system of white supremacist racism in place? Can anybody argue that there's a systemic system of white supremacist racism in place?
Not here.
Poor white people can, maybe. But
yes,
even
I
there,
like
but
poor white people can.
Even poor whites will tell you, I'd rather be poor and white
Chris Rock,
than black.
Chris Rock said, there's not a white man on the earth that'll trade places with me, and I'm rich.
He's got a point.
Yeah, there's a concept that Lyndon Johnson said this. If you can convince the lowest white man that he's higher than the highest black man, he will not only give you his money, he'll show you where to get the rest of it.
Geoff, I'm going to tell you something about that. What you're saying, I understand what you're saying and why you said it, but I don't know if you ever saw Spider-Man, not the ones that are out now, the other ones, when he first got his power. You remember how he was like, wow, I'm fucking... No, they want to be us. Trust me, them motherfuckers want to be able to dunk balls and fuck hoes.
Or maybe they don't.
And look cool with a lot of jewelry on.
Maybe they want to be the owner.
No,
I can't do that shit, but...
No.
Did you hear what Donald Sterling said?
He sits there.
I get him cars. I give them food. I give them houses.
Donald Sterling,
I make their lives what it is.
Wait a minute.
He would give up all that to be one of them motherfuckers out there on the court. Trust me. He want to be one of the guys.
He would give up all of that to be Shannon Brown.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Fuck
He would.
Well, here's...
Because Shannon Brown can fuck his bitch. And that's what it's always boiled down to.
So now it's
no matter how much money they have, they come around with that big-ass gorilla of money. We come around with that other gorilla over there.
Yeah.
And they know they hold like it. And
I got a one-eyed gorilla in my pants.
Man, look, man,
That's
let me
true.
tell you something.
You don't cut to this. Nobody really wanted to have that discussion. But that's what this really boils down to. That man got all the money in the world.
And he's sucking out that black bitch asshole.
Yeah.
How is he can't fuck her, so he's sucking her ass. That's what he's doing.
So it's kind of...
Don't clean your ass. I don't want you to clean your ass.
Come on in here now.
God damn it, I got enough money to buy a new tongue. Shit on my throat.
I'll clean it off.
Hey, monkey looking ugly cat face bitch. That's an ugly bitch.
Yeah, she's not really the best.
Ladies and gentlemen, we about to take a quick break. TradioV, Radio NTV, the Zo What Morning Show, Bobby Glanton-Smith, Corey Holcomb, Geoff Brown. When we come back, more white privilege. I'll be back at 2.2.
Sorry I'm being so negative. I'm a bummer. I don't know. I shouldn't be. I'm a very, lucky guy. I got a lot going for me. I'm healthy. I'm relatively young. I'm white, which thank God for that shit, boy. That is a huge leg up. Are you kidding me? Oh, God, I love being white. I really do. Seriously, if you're not white, you're missing out, because this shit is thoroughly good. But let me be clear, by the way. I'm not saying that white people are better. I'm saying that being white is clearly better. Who could even argue? If it was an option, I would re-up every year. Oh, yeah, I'll take white again. Absolutely. I've been enjoying that. I'm going to stick with white. Thank you. Here's how great it is to be white. I could get in a time machine and go to any time, and it would be fucking awesome when I get there. That is exclusively a white privilege. Black people can't fuck with time machines. A black guy in a time machine is like, hey, anything before 1980? No, thank you. I don't want to go. But I can go to any time. The year 2? I don't even know what's happening then. But I know when I get there, welcome, we have a table right here for you, sir. Oh, thank you. Oh, it's lovely here in the year 2. I can go to any time. In the past, I don't want to go to the future and find out what happens to white people, because we're going to pay hard for this shit. You got to know that. We're not going to just fall from number 1 to 2. They're going to hold us down and fuck us in the ass forever. And we totally deserve it. But for now, whee! Now, if you're white and you don't admit that it's great, you're an asshole. It is great. And I'm a man. How many advantages could one person have? I'm a white man. You can't even hurt my feelings. What can you really call a white man that really digs deep? Hey, cracker. Oh, ruined my day. Boy, shouldn't have called me a cracker. Bringing me back to owning land and people. What a drag. Oh, damn.
I love Louis.
Historically inaccurate.
Yeah, a little inaccurate. Because on year 2,
that's us.
Ain't no table waiting for your ass in
No,
year 2.
no.
There's some of this shit that you talking about that we going through.
You still a mutant. Motherfuckers looking at you like, look at this pale motherfucker. What happened to you?
Why is he eating off the ground?
It's raw.
He can't keep up when we run to the village.
Lions eat them every day.
This bitch keep, what do they do? They ain't beep you back in the day. What did this bitch do? This bitch keep throwing spears my way.
No, but seriously, historically, the time reference thing is no.
Not so.
You be white and take a time machine back to 7th century Spain when it was ruled by the Moors for 800 years.
Mm-hmm. What he said is a result of white privilege.
That's my point.
He think that they've been kicking it because they've been kicking ass for so long. He think that it's always been that way.
Yeah. Right. But see, that's part of the lie. Part of the lie is African history is synonymous with slavery. And what you fail to realize is it was Africans who created slavery. And we had white folks enslaved too. It wasn't based on color, it was more of a class thing.
That's why it's different.
Right, and resources.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to, before you go to the next progression, real quickly deal with something you said about the black bourgeoisie. There's a book called The Wretched of the Earth by Frantz Fanon. And in that book, and I read that in college almost 40 years ago, and it still resonates with me to this day. He said the oppressed take on the worst characteristics of the oppressors. And I've seen that in our people, man. Whatever white people like, black people love.
Obama.
Well, I'm just saying, it becomes the standard of what's normal.
Right.
So with that said, we're bringing in heavy hitters to the So What Show on TradioV.com. 855-878-4652 is the number to dial. Follow us on Twitter at TradioV. Follow me on Twitter at Zoe Williams. Bringing in a heavy hitter.
A bomb dropper.
Hygienic scientist, neuropath, metaphysician, clinical hypnotherapist, polymath, lecturer, free thinker, the founder, director, and pastor of the Temple of Healing the Spirit, Self-Healing Education Center, the Institute of Self-Mastery, and the University of Comedian Sciences. This dude ain't no joke. He's been on the Zoe What Morning Show before. He's a friend of mine. I have deep respect for him. That's why I bring him to the show. Without further ado, please welcome none other than legendary community source, wellspring of information, brother Dr. Phil Valentine. What up, Phil?
How you doing, family?
Come on, man. I'm good, man. You know I love to have you on the show. Please talk to us about white privilege and how there's almost like this, like their computer hard drive was wiped of our history when we was wiping the world with their asses. Right? Could you give us some historical context?
Let's just dovetail off of what the beloved brothers talked about, Frantz Fanon. I think we should continue from that point. Brother was very on point when Frantz spoke about the fact that the conquerors did not just conquer your land and your resources, they conquered your culture and your mind. And what they did essentially was to assume, because most of them at that time were very low class, most of them were the so-called savages from the northern caves, and they did not have the sophistication of culture and civilization of the people that they conquered at the time. So what they did was, at conquest, they assumed the identity of the conquered and then kicked them into the wilderness where they came from. And what you did was essentially what they call exchange places, or they did with projection. They began to project their own savagery and their own psyche of savagery and their own phylogenetic constitution onto the people that were defeated. And so now those people became, according to the Freudianness, the other, the O-T-H-E-R.
So is
and
that
then
when...
now we began to adapt and adopt to that because, of course, once they get your children, then the children begin to mold around whatever it is that the conqueror sees as reality. And again, it is the conquest of your God that is most important, because that's where your language and your perception of reality comes from. So man creates God. So therefore, every conquered civilization has his God undermined by the conqueror. And the conqueror then has his God assume space where your mind used to actually call God a certain name. And when you call God a certain name, your people were the ones who formed the name of God in accordance with the four elements that were in your environment at that time. So the Most High spoke to you and gave you its name, and you spoke that in relationship to nature and to the Most High. Once they take that away from you and give you their God, you no longer have your connection to the higher self.
Oh, my goodness.
Franz Fallon was on point when he spoke about the fact that the other, which essentially was the beast and the sickness and the mental viral parasite that came with the European, he offloaded that virus, that disease onto you. And now you over there worshiping Jesus and bowing down to all these other names. They had a goddamn thing to do with it.
So let me ask, man, because it's a heavy get down. It's a heavy situation. So fast forward to 2014. You have a people bereft of knowledge of self, right, whose internal value system has been externally created by people that don't really appreciate who they are in the first place. I don't want none of your pickle, Corey.
That is so against the man code.
No, but I'm just...
That don't even sound right. Here, why don't you bite another man's pickle? That's just...
Really? Thanks, Geoff.
I'm trying to derail it. I'm just...
Jesus.
Wow. All right, go ahead.
So that's what I say.
Let me listen to the brother, because that's the coldest shit I heard in a long time.
Yeah, man.
Savages of the Northern Cave. I can't wait to call this white bitch I be fucking with. When we argue again, I'm going to be like, you savage of the Northern Cave.
Well, I call them Neo-Neanderthals. That's what they are.
Neo-Neanderthals.
White has got nothing to do with them. They're Neo-Neanderthals, and when they want to call me nigga, I call them cave maggots.
Wow.
Oh,
damn.
Wow. Shit.
So let me ask the question. How is
cave maggot?
I mean, maybe Dr. Phil Valentine could ask this, and I'm asking this to the panel.
I don't know how to spell Neanderthal. Go ahead.
I'm asking this.
It's cave maggot.
I'm asking this to the panel. How is classism, white privilege, and racism related? And we're talking about back to the old Geoff. Back to the old Geoff Brown. Go ahead, Geoff.
Oh my God. How is classism? Okay. Well, first, the real get down. Again, in my opinion, from what I've read, and Dr. Phil, please, I'm a huge fan of yours, just to come in and unscrew any of this bullshit I'm about to say. The true concept of the way society works is this classism that's in place that makes regular white folks, I'm talking about the supervisor at Jiffy Lube, think that he is somehow closer to the Bushes and the DuPonts than he is Trayvon and Ray Ray now.
That's because Jesus is white.
Oh, yeah.
When you see Jesus...
Oh, yeah, Jesus white.
He white.
Yeah. Okay, here's the true bullshit.
If I'm white, no matter what my station in life is, I'm still the same race as Jesus.
I'm still the same race as Jesus, yeah. Now,
that's the end of it.
2014 years ago, this dude was supposed to be hanging around. This is how you know he's racist. He's in the Middle East. He hangs out with Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Silas, Peter, Timothy. Not an Ahmed, not an Akbar. Just all the dudes you hang out with got English names.
But those
fuck out of here.
I think some of those are translated, though. James would be Yaqub, or, you know.
So what's the purpose then?
Yeah,
Why didn't you just call him Yaqub? It's Nebuchadnezzar is still in there.
Yeah, because they translate different names. Like, first off, if they give you the meaning of the names, now they're giving you a deeper understanding of the scripture. They don't want to do that. If you get deeper understanding of the scripture, then you can now start to self-govern. No.
Well, I don't really.
We
fuck
have to
with
keep you a little bit dumb now.
I don't fuck with the Bible heavy anyway. Once it get past slavery's okay.
And on top of that picture that I've always noticed about Jesus, he never has his hair braided.
Well, let me just ask, if I can just delve in here.
Brother Phil. Brother Phil.
Twofold origin.
Brother Phil, can you hear me?
And the
Brother Phil.
Racism and classism that we're talking about actually originated over in India with the conquest of the Dravidians by the Turco-Mongols who came in from the north. And you remember that the system that's over there called the Varna system essentially actually dovetailed over from that system into what we call the racism and Western white supremacy. The history of it, you have to look at the history of it, is that classism actually began with the Dravidian system that was broken down based upon your family's connection to the entire cultural and civilizational infrastructure. You had people who were the engineers, and when you were born into that particular group or that particular class, you came into the class of engineers. You have people who were born into the priesthood. They came into the priesthood, and so that system that actually was a balance in the system because it allowed everyone to participate at their level and were respected for what they gave to the culture. When they were conquered, that particular so-called system that was based upon cultural, the dynamics that you worked in from a familial sense was changed into a classism society.
And it was based on
they came in.
And Phil says something. Hey, Phil, Doc, we got to take a quick break. I was trying to set that up before you went into it, but Doc said something very, very important. He said Varna. Varna is the Sanskrit word for color. Instead of
varnish, like when you do it to a table?
That's what he was saying. That's what he said. Varna, that's the Hindu Dravidian culture. It's a cold situation. Listen, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, more information, man. It's going to keep going deeper and deeper and deeper now.
What happened to Goulston?
I'm going to tell you what happened to Goulston, Corey. Stop it. We'll be back in 2.2.
Now for a discovery which may surprise you. Scientists have found that most of us still have a little bit of a Neanderthal inside us. A study into the DNA of the human subspecies found that they interbred with modern humans tens of thousands of years ago, and their genetic mark remains today. The BBC's Palab Ghosh has more on these extraordinary findings.
This is a skull of a modern human, and this is from a Neanderthal. Look closely and you can see that this one has a slightly longer brain case. Most scientists believe that these are two separate species, and there wasn't much interaction between the two. But now we know there was interbreeding, and that all non-Africans living today are part Neanderthal. The researchers extracted DNA from Neanderthal fossils and compared it with that taken from people living today. They found that the DNA of Europeans and Asians is 2% Neanderthal.
It's a very exciting discovery because it gives us really the first strong evidence that there was interbreeding with people like the Neanderthals. And it means that modern humans in different parts of the world may have slightly different mixes.
Further analysis should give a greater insight into how Neanderthals lived and shed more light on our own early origins. Palab Ghosh, BBC News.
And the Neanderthal in me has always said Neanderthal. I stand quite corrected.
There are many jokes about people behaving like Neanderthals, but it seems the joke could be on us. Research has found that many human beings actually have Neanderthal DNA, proving there's an evolutionary link.
The Neanderthal, that beastly evolutionary outcast, thought to be extinct for 30,000 years. But scientists believe they've picked up the trail of that hairy historic reject in the most surprising of places.
In us, many of us anyway, there is new evidence that humans inherited up to 4% of our DNA from Neanderthals.
The study in the journal Science is based on painstaking research into 3 Neanderthal bone fragments. Scientists reconstructed the Neanderthal genetic code and compared it to modern humans from across the globe and found there was up to a 4% match with humans everywhere but from Africa. The theory is that our human ancestors migrating out of Africa some 70,000 years ago had some amorous encounters with Neanderthals somewhere in the Middle East.
We mean that they interbred or they had sex.
This is the first real evidence Neanderthals and humans had kids, which means, despite the old assumption that Neanderthals disappeared from the evolutionary chart,
Neanderthals aren't quite extinct. They all live on a little bit in many of us.
So next time you spill beer at the game, you really are a little bit of a Neanderthal.
The research is
What? Are you telling me that is what the word mankind actually means? You're a kind of man. And the African is a man. That's crazy. They made us, come on, man, we got to be honest now. See, this is what this show is about. It's about honesty. It's about having real tough dialect. Listen, I got white friends right now. Baby Teen Wolf is our engineer.
Yo, Maroon 5, what's up?
Maroon 5, 25-year-old engineer in there. They learn from us every week. We got the homie Pat. He cut his beard off.
Hey, what's going on?
He's as white as a snowflake.
Yeah.
One of the coolest people I know.
If you're going to get pulled over, you need to have Pat in your car.
Yeah, because Pat will get you off.
Get you off, man.
White privilege. Hey,
him on.
hey, officer.
Yeah.
I'm going to need you to tone it down a taste, okay?
His daddy run First Interstate.
Right? That's white privilege.
That's why
you need white friends. They're buffers in this society.
Fantastic.
Right? You know what my fucking father is, huh?
Yeah, he can get out just like that. And you know what? The cop will calm down. You get out on some, you know who I bip, bop, bop, bip, bop, bop, bop.
How many of you guys seen that video on the internet where the white kid is ripping the police officer and he has the gun?
Up in his shit.
He's like, listen, am I a threat, officer? This isn't against my constitutional right to carry a firearm. I have a license for it. I have a permit for it. What? Give me my gun back. And the police, hey, take it easy, relax.
I didn't realize how white you were.
Right? If that was a black, come on, Oscar Grant. He is handcuffed, face down, and still gets shot. Oh, I thought it was my taser. You don't, what? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
That's white privilege. So white privilege extends into history, into this whole construct of white is right, white is great, right? How do we break that down and recontextualize our understanding as black people? Bobby?
Well, before we even get there, I was with this brother last week.
What? You going to take me off the subject?
No,
Damn it, Bobby.
I'm not taking off the subject.
Right.
I'm linking it back to the relevance of how we ended up in that situation. This brother's name is Rockman, and he told me, he said, the white privilege thing plays out like this. We get to have sex with the sisters, but the white man has a cooperative mind with the sister.
Go deeper into that.
He said, all he got to tell that sister and show her is, call me. 3 digits, 911. Whatever problem you got with a brother, call me, 911. And I'll come into your home and fix that problem. I'll put him up against the wall, put his hand behind his back, and solve whatever problem you got with him. So when you start thinking about privilege and power, white people have the power to change our lives directly through the police, through legislation, through education, and all of these things.
That's just like the comedian. So what was the comedian earlier that we played the clip? What's his name?
C.K. Yeah.
Funny as hell. Hey, if there was a choice, hey, I'd be white again. I'm in the white line because that's the way this is. You know what?
You're in the white line because of the way you're built and the way you are. Right. You can't hang in the black line. And nobody thinks like that. You choose to be that because, God damn it, there's some other shit going on right here.
Yeah. But you remember back in the day, I remember, I'm from the South. I'm from Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I remember hearing like my big mama and, my mother and, aunts and saying things like, hey, this is the white man's world. You gotta You got to fit into what he does, and everything is about fitting the program. But everything about this westernized society seems to point to a fallacy, a lie, everything, history, everything, right? In order to maintain this facade of power. Is racism more about class and power than it is about color?
No, it's all about color. Because Corey just said something real profound and important. He said, the way we are is the way we are. And it's by design. It was an experiment, I think, that ran amok. Because when they started breeding black people for productivity purposes 200-300 years ago, they came up with a superior athlete, a superior work product. And then that product bred another generation and another generation. And we ain't been able to get out of that line yet. I mean, black people just do what they do physically.
You got to be out there in the field before you understand what the fuck is really going on in the world. I will put it like this. All the Caucasian guys who I know who have really been out there in the field, no matter how, if they're prejudiced or whatever, they have a respect for what brothers can do. Because the truth is, what we can do is not going to be hyped up on television. It's going to be hyped down on television. You
mean our real capability?
We stand out. If you get out there and run with some dogs, eventually you're going to be like, man, I can't keep up with them motherfuckers.
With them dogs?
That's what happened with, in my opinion, Caucasian people trying to keep up with brothers. They like, man, these motherfuckers are different. They're not going to say it like that. I'm not just talking about the physical shit. I'm talking about mental shit as well, that they always try to act like, you know what I'm saying? Hey, mentally, we're on top of the game over the brothers. No. We have done shit that they can never match.
So everything is like fixed. So
and when the inferior man sees that,
so let me say this
whether
to
it's
everybody.
in sport or whatever, they all get envious.
So let me say this to everybody. Is white privilege the real affirmative action? Because everything is fixed towards white privilege. The tests are standardized. They know everybody that is from a different culture, China, first off, they said the standardized tests are great. But then when the Asians started mashing on the standardized tests, they said, no, we got to change that, right? The only reason why they say we got to change it is because it started affecting the white people's grade. Because, it's all on a sliding scale.
Yeah, because the valedictorian has always got three letters in his name. Lee Trin.
Oh, God. So, Geoff, make your point, and then I'm going to come back to Phil. Dr. Phil.
With regard to standardized tests in Asians, there's an advantage that every other color and every other group of people, with the exception of, and I hate to use this, I'll just say blacks born in America, that they have a different point of view at looking at shit. They got their own language. They got their own, there's another way for them to say shit that is acceptable. Anything that we have to say or look at something is some kind of fucked up offshoot of Anglo-Saxon English from here. We don't have our point of reference was erased. You just entirely, I'm going to take your brain and shake all the shit that's in it out. So because of that, I think I think that gets overlooked. I think the importance of being able to draw your lines back as a mass scale, not just a couple cats, not just the doc, not just you, but everybody. And we need to get there.
Wow. Dr. Phil, you got 2 minutes. Wrap us up on this whole concept.
If you can.
Well, like we were speaking about, as far as privilege is concerned, that color white was never a color of the skin. It was a specific classification for class. There's a book out I think everybody should get by Ignatieff called How the Irish Became White. Because you got to remember over there in the southern part of New York, and this is two things. I'm going to get to part B in a minute. Back in the days when you saw a movie that was out there called The Gangs of New York, when they showed you all these gangs that were coming together from the Irish and so forth. Back in those days, the migration of the blacks who had the superior knowledge and the superior work skills were migrating north in order to put those skills to work. And that's when all the whites themselves began saying, oh, man, we got some serious competition. We got people who do the job better, been doing it for the last 400 years, so we got to come together. That's when the unions were created. So the Polish and the Greeks and Italians and all of them said, listen, no, we can't have these black people coming in at this point. That's when they began to unionize. Now, that's when, but before that, the blacks and the Irish used to be together. Back in Europe, Irish were lower than blacks. In fact, they had to sign on the pubs, no blacks, no dogs, and then underneath that, no Irish.
So you saying before the Irish became white, they were tight with the blacks.
They were together with blacks down in the southern parts under the Brooklyn Bridge and around there. But then when the time came for that stratification, they cut a deal with them and brought them in to become the police. So the Irish now assumed the police to actually keep the blacks in place when they were migrating up. That's when all of the, when they started getting into the civil rights and all that. That's when the police began to start recruiting whites and getting the lower class whites into privileged so-called white status.
Officer O'Leary.
That began to become the stratification between black and white. When the Irish were given a class, a position in the society that was not afforded them back when they were the immigrants coming out of Europe, that's when you began to see the stratification between black and white. Now, that's the other part, that's the A. The B part is that the European has been constantly looking for his origins, and he can't find them. So he's got this missile going.
Wow. So you hear the music. Listen, we just got to take one more quick break. When we come back, I want you to finish that thought, Dr. Phil. We'll be back in 2 seconds. TradioV, radio and TV. So What Mornings is getting crazy.
Oh my God, how he has a rap career is beyond me. I don't get it. And he takes his shirt off. Oh my God, he looks like 50 pounds of chewed Tootsie Rolls with his... All right. Now, you are in white fashion. You know white boys always leave the house like they're going to help somebody move. Resist and defend the horrible hoes. There are some horrible people. And what you need to do is start policing your own. I don't know if it happened out of coincidence, but I was at the DMV this morning before I came into the show with my wife, and I was trying to decide, where I should talk about this on the show today. And I'll just share with you. I don't even know where the fuck the funny is. It just happened. We are standing in line. My wife is meticulous, so she makes an appointment, as she always does, to go to the DMV. We got an appointment time. We're in the appointment time line. There's another line that looks like the children of Israel. It is long. It's huge. It's like 40,000 people long. Everybody under the sound of my voice has been to the DMV and dealt with that shit. A white man comes up to the front of the line that we are in with a baby stroller. And there's a man in front of us. He says to this man, "Do you mind if I stand here to go next?" Now the man said, "Wait, this is the appointment line. Did you make an appointment?" "No." "What is that line for?" "It's for the people who didn't make appointments." "Really, that long line?" "Yes, white man, really that long line. Where am I supposed to stand?" "Behind all the blacks and Mexicans. That's where you're supposed to stand, but that never crosses your mind because you're white. That line has to be for some other motherfuckers because it couldn't be for me." Yes, the only way to get to a mind state like that is to have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of being told you can do whatever the fuck you want. This is where white people are. Okay, imagine.
But you're not white. You don't know it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I do. I've been force fed their shit. They've never had to look at my shit. I've had to look at their shit. America is a house. Imagine America is a house on a block. Well, this house, somebody stole the land that's under it. Then they took the glass from somebody else, the wood from somebody else, and then made another group of people make this house, build this house, and now they can't figure out why the hell that people keep driving by and throwing Molotov cocktails and bricks and garbage in the front yard. It's not because they're mad at you. They're mad at the fact that you don't want to be honest that your daddy stole this fucking house.
Wow.
That's where it comes from.
Wow.
You should have said to him, "No, you can't get in line, and fuck you and your baby from northern caves."
What?
Savage baby.
Cave maggots.
Your baby is a cave maggot, sir.
Cave maggot Neanderthal. Yeah.
What is going on?
But I didn't get
Let
cave
me just
maggot.
say
Gave me
this.
new words.
Let me just say this. We're talking about white privilege, and Bobby Jindal, governor
of Louisiana.
Louisiana. He said in an op-ed piece, he said, racism wouldn't exist if minorities would just act like white people.
He's right.
We just get with the program.
Yeah, just do. Yeah.
What?
Yes.
That's a very ignorant statement.
He said it wouldn't exist. In other words, he's blaming minorities for racism.
Well, it worked for him because he's Indian.
Right.
But Indian is black.
No, not
yes,
in
it
his,
is.
Not,
yes, it is.
Not in his mind.
Yes, it is. It's too bad. Well, I don't give a damn what his mind says. It's too bad. 75,000 years ago, the genetic markers point that everybody in India is black.
That's right.
Is African.
They just
and you can
niggas
say
that dress
whatever
funny.
you can say whatever you want to say. You black. He did. He's advising us to do what he did, and that is racism wouldn't exist if minorities would just act like white people.
But so there's a lot of people that don't act black when it works for them. The bitch who was fucking the elderly man who owned the Clippers, I'm sure she wasn't acting black while she was receiving tangible goods from him.
Right.
But I'm not from LA, but my head is to the streets. This bitch be fucking the homies. Little broke motherfuckers who ain't got paper like that.
Yeah.
They fucking this bitch, but he buying her Bentleys. Now, what do that tell you?
That she really wants to.
That tells you that white privilege is a mirage.
Oh, that's deep. Dr. Phil, you in here?
Yes, brother.
Come on, man. Wrap this up for us.
Real quick, another book to get is How Jews Became White Folks and What That Says About Race in America by Karen Brodkin. You need to read that part, too.
Who is it by?
By Karen Brodkin. It's called How Jews Became White Folks. And the other thing also I wanted to speak about is that, as Brother was saying, that it's all a mirage. Everything is, in the science, the culture, the religion, everything by white people is nothing but a smokescreen. You have to remember they don't have a foundation. Nothing spiritual ever came out of Europe. So everything that they took, everything that they mutated into spirituality or into a religious context came out of the black mind. But you have to understand that he cannot find himself anywhere. And in the Hidden Colors, I always said that the deeper the archaeologists dig, the white archaeologists dig for evidence of their origins, the blacker the planet gets. So what he has to do now is to fall into a mythos. So the mythos now dovetails from the Darwinian Malthusian fusing of the two. And now he says in order for him to land grab Africa, he has to now say that the genetics of Africa gives him privilege to go into Africa to rape the resources because guess what? All of the northern parts of Africa now have Neanderthal DNA. And the southern part, which is where the brothers and sisters from the Sudan, don't. So who is he? What kind of what kind of creature came out of the caves at that time in order to do what he did and to have the kind of privilege that he has now amassed based on conquest? Now, here's the other thing. I'm saying to you that the true human actually is in the southern part, and that's why the torture of the Sudan and all the things that's going on there is happening. They found out that the European has 6 strands of DNA, the same as the chimpanzee. What they found out in the southern part of the Sudan is that the black people there have 9 strands, and that the original ones really, in the esoteric journals, had 22 strands, not this 12-strand nonsense that these Europeans are trying to tell you to come back to. And the 22 strands were actually part of or dovetailed from the Kabbalistic 22 letters. That's another story. But remember, everything he's speaking about, as far as the DNA and all of the fusing and the Neanderthal and all of that, has nothing to do with reality. He still does not know who he is. And so what he is doing is making up a mythos as he goes along. He is taking a little bit from ours, and he is now assuming, based upon his pseudoscience, what it is that his origins are about. But he does not know where he came from.
So, Phil,
he is making it up as he's going along.
So, Dr. Phil Valentine, let me ask you this. Coming back to today, how do black people in America, like, what is the process of getting this knowledge of who we once were and then turning it back around? Is black self-esteem and black self-knowledge a form of terrorism? You know, like, because if we like learned this and got back who we really were, our real understanding of ourselves, would that be a threat to white supremacy, to white privilege, to the whole Western, infrastructure?
Good is always a threat to bad.
It is a psycho-spiritual inoculation against the virus of white supremacy. Yeah. And what happens is, once the blood begins to reacquaint itself with its true ancestry, and that's the problem, remember, your mind and your thoughts can change your DNA. It can change the mapping. It can change your programming. So when you begin to start doing what we were doing in the underground, when we started the so-called conscious community back in New York, in Atlanta, and in Chicago, what we were doing was we didn't want to be bothered with everything that was up above board, because all of that was the illusion. What we were doing was setting the roots and planting the seeds of what you see happening today, the revolution in the mind. And so now the European, because his melanin can't take him to the next level, into the next transcendence, he now has to do it technically. So that's why you see all these movies about him wiring up to become this transhuman. He doesn't know where he needs to go. But you see, once he finds what melanin is, he will see that we've been space and time traveling from the longest period of time.
Wow.
He now needs to do it technically. We've been doing it using our body as the technology.
Wow.
He hasn't come there yet.
Hey,
melanin
that's heavy, man.
That's what melanin is.
That's heavy, brother. That's heavy, man. We got to take a quick break. My goodness. Dr. Phil is taking off from the free throw line with a blindfold on and doing a between the legs 360 dunk on it right now.
Dark-skinned dudes is time travel?
Yeah, I'm just saying, the darker you are, the farther in the time, I guess you can go back and forward.
Back to Wednesday.
But listen, he said, I need to go back to Wednesday.
Go back to right before I met my first ex-wife. Smack the shit.
Okay, smack the shit out yourself.
Yeah.
Listen, we'll be back at 2.2. TradioV, radio and TV. It's deep in here right now. White privilege. I'll be back.
Way of searching for a better life and escaping poverty. It has often seemed to me that also meant escaping their roots, where they came from, that there was a sort of a desire to separate from that and to become something different.
Means that I have Scotch-Irish ancestry with a little bit of German. I'm European, and I came over 250 years ago.
My ancestors are from England and Germany.
My ancestors are German and Russian and Scottish.
In my father's side, it was Irish, and my mother's side, it was probably English, but I don't know a lot about her side.
I'm French Indian. I guess you'd say I got a little Cajun in me.
Ireland. Ireland. So do you identify as Irish?
No, not really. I identify as an American.
British, Scotch-Irish. That's where my ancestors are from, supposedly, but hasn't had any impact on me. Doesn't mean anything.
I think Pilgrims. When I think of where did I come from, I think Pilgrims, but no. But I'm sure somewhere down the line I am.
Because they were Irish, there was a lot of oppression, because they immigrated over from Ireland. So I thought a lot about what that was like for them as Irish people, but I never thought about what it was like for them and when they became white.
Well, you can only be something if there's something else to negate it, so I guess we became white. I guess we're white because there's a bunch of other races to set us off.
So how did English people and German people get turned into white people?
Came to America.
My assimilation by living by living in the U.S. It's just the smorgasbord,
I have no idea.
Wow. So Caucasians are originally from supposedly Caucasus Mountains and then migrate into Europe and become German, become Irish, become Italian, become whatever. And then when they come to America, they become white. Whiteness, right? Very interesting angle there. I mean, when did whiteness come into play? This is very deep stuff. So with that said, we have to say goodbye to my good friend, Dr. Phil Valentine. This is an incredible brother with a storehouse of information.
Does he have a website or something?
I'm about to get it, Bobby. Can I manage? Can I get it, Uncle Bobby? I love you, man. So that's what Bobby do to me on his show. I'll be on Bobby's show. He say, I got it, Zoe. Hell, you running shotgun now.
This is mine.
So again,
I'm the boss today.
So again, Brother Valentine, what is your website? How can my viewers connect with you, man, and get your information? If you got books, if you got resources, point them in a direction, brother.
I appreciate that, brother. You can go to, this is the shortcut, uksnow.org. Again, U is in United, K is in King, S is in Science, NOW.org. On there, that's our university's website. We're beginning our next semester on the solstice, the 21st of June, for anybody who's interested. You can also tap into my book, The Wounded Womb, from there. And if they need to get things like vaccination exemption packages, nutritional consultations, metaphysical consultations, they can call 800-847-1291. Again, 800-847-1291.
Wow.
I got a question for
you. Ask him the question real quick because we got to bring in our next guest.
I just want to know if girls have a problem controlling their bodies, like they give away too much vagina, can they reach out to you and you help them out with them? Help them out with that?
I knew you was going to do it.
No, I wouldn't be able to help them out with that. They can get the book and read why that might be certain things that they have.
Wow.
They're being coerced into doing that. But anyway, just follow the numbers and follow the letters, and you'll find me. And it's been a joy listening to you, brothers.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you, brother.
Making it and keeping it real.
Can we get both Dr. Phils on the same show?
At some point, Geoff, can I move on? All right. Thank you. At some point, can I move on?
Yes. Basically,
thank you, Dr. Phil. We'll be talking to you soon, brother.
If an intelligent brother like that can't help the bitches they lost.
Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we have a special guest on the line right now. The brother's name is Mike Winger. He is an author, wrote a book, very powerful book. I want him to tell you what it is. I need you to go support it. You know how we do with books. It's a big deal. When we bring somebody who wrote a book on, they have an experience and a situation that you need to connect with as it pertains to the topic. Without further ado, Mike Winger, welcome to the So What Morning Show. How are you, man?
I'm good. Thanks very much for having me.
Please, can we get some clarity on what exactly is white privilege? What is it?
Well, I describe that in my book, My Black Family, My White Privilege, White Man's Journey Through the Nation's Racial Minefield. What I mean by white privilege, and I want to distinguish that from white supremacy. White supremacists are people who believe that they're better because of their skin color, and they seek to consciously maintain economic and political power by whatever means they can develop. White privilege is essentially the benefits that white people enjoy every day by being members of the dominant group in society.
What do you mean by benefits? Can you define some of the benefits that only white people have access to because they're white?
Yeah, I'll give you a couple of really quick immediate examples. There's an article in the paper today that although half the students attending public schools in the United States are people of color, or students of color, fewer than 1 in 5 of their teachers are non-white. Now, what that means is that a majority of children of color are being taught by white teachers. That has an effect on their expectations of students. It has an effect on role models that children see. It has an effect on the curriculum and the emphasis placed on the curriculum. it's an easy example of something that white students never have to think about, but that is can be a real problem for students of color. There's another example in the paper yesterday. 3 California students, white students, were expelled from San Jose State University charged with a hate crime. What did they do? They had a black roommate, and they put a bike lock around his neck. They called him derogatory names, that sort of thing. White people read that, and they say, oh, that's terrible, but it's never anything that they have to
even consider,
concern themselves
right.
with. So those are a couple of examples. There are many examples in the book of things that my children, who are African American, have experienced that I've never had to worry about.
Hey, Michael Wenger?
Yeah.
Wenger.
Hey, Wenger? I'm sorry, I want to make sure I get it right, Wenger. I want to ask you a question, because I heard what you said. So are white people the most dominant or the most manipulative group of folks in society?
Well, they are the dominant group in the society because they
in
are
terms of power and
majority,
resources, yeah.
And they control the levers of economic and political power, even
because of manipulation, right? So they are the most manipulative group, right? No doubt.
Manipulative?
Yeah.
I think we're all manipulative. I'm talking. I think all of us are manipulative.
I see who you are. Thank you, sir.
I have a hard time letting that slide.
Hold it together. Hold it together,
baby,
Geoff.
I love you. Like I say that to
His
my
wife is
we had
here.
this conversation. I love you, baby. When you say we are all manipulative, I can absolutely agree with you. But if we were to put manipulative on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being the least, 10 being the most, with history serving us, where would you put white people?
Manipulation is the only reason they have any dominance. So manipulation should be the main word.
Okay, well on a scale of 1 to 10.
Wait, let him answer, though.
Well, see, I'm not going to get into the scale. What I am going to say is that because white people have had the power for however many centuries, we've existed, they have been able to use their manipulative abilities and power to maintain a high level of economic and political power. To me, all people are manipulative in one way or another. The issue here is the issue of power.
Right. And you know what, Mike? This is Zoe here. I think what we're trying to angle down to or drill down to is this. Even basic statements like whites are the majority and blacks are the minority.
It's a setup to make it sound better.
That's the manipulation, because if you look at the world is a melaninated world, and the minority of the world, when we're speaking ethnically, is white. Numbers-wise, whites are the minority.
Somebody needs to write a book called Word Games.
So it's very good to be able to. I mean, if you really break it down, it's a manipulative and clever plan to say, instead of looking at your ethnicity, let's look at your nationality. So you have a lot of black people who say, no, I'm not black, I'm Belizean. No, I'm not black, I'm Honduran. I'm Cuban, I'm Panamanian. But if you look at them ethnically, the world is a black world. I mean, it's a cold world. Listen, we got to take a quick break. When I come back, I'm coming right back to you, Mike. You're doing great, man. We'll talk in a second.
To race bait and to assume the worst in people, especially people employed by the very powerful Fox News channel. Contrary to what my critics have posited, neither my statement nor Harris's, I'm sure, was motivated by any racial fear or loathing. In fact, it was something far less sinister. From Miracle on 34th Street to the Thanksgiving Day Parade to the National Christmas Tree lighting, we continually see St. Nick as a white man in modern-day America.
So did Kelly need to apologize, or does she have a point? Here to talk about it, radio talk show host Mel Robbins, author Tim Wise, and filmmaker Rochelle Oliver. Thanks one and all for being here. Mel, I'll start with you. Did Megyn Kelly go far enough to silence her critics?
I personally don't even think she needed to apologize. And one of the reasons why is I think she's right. I think that this was about race baiting. She was clearly talking about the representation of Santa Claus in popular culture. And here's one of the things, Jake, that I found to be profoundly sad about this entire story is that everybody missed the point. The point is that Santa, if you believe in him, which many of us do, is a function of what you grew up with. And so she was talking about the Santa that not only do we see in popular culture, but also the one that showed up in her household. So I don't even think she needed to apologize. For the Jesus comment, because she was wrong, Santa problem, no way.
And Mel, just to follow up, you think the bigger issue here is that people are insecure about their race, so much so that a joke would set them off. Explain what you mean.
Well, here's the thing, Jake, is that if you have a belief and you have faith in something, whether it's you believe in Santa or you believe in a certain religion, belief is anchored inside you. So it's very sad that a news host could say something about her belief and it rocks your world. That tells me that you don't have very firm convictions if you're offended by what somebody on television says about something you believe in.
Tim, please, both Tim and Rochelle are shaking their heads. Tim, go ahead. Yes.
Yeah.
First of all, a Dartmouth graduate just said she believes in Santa. That's number one. Number two, and perhaps the more important point, Megyn Kelly did not say, this is my Santa.
I happen to have kids at home.
She said, hold on a minute, wait, let me finish. This is not one of your TED Talks. Let me finish my comment.
Yeah, let's finish.
What Megyn Kelly said was very simply, quote, Santa is white, end of quote, and so is Jesus. So I think the real issue is, if you want to make a joke about Santa's whiteness, here's a way to do it that would not presume white normalcy or that white is the norm. You could say, for instance, and I would, that if there were Santa, he'd have to be white because no black man could break into millions of homes even if he was bearing presents and not be shot by some neighborhood watch captain. That's a way to be funny, but Fox News would never do that because that would presume that they had to admit racial profiling and racism were real. So there's that. I think the real issue is that she made a statement of fact, not for her own opinion, but fact. There's a difference between believing in Santa and believing in Jesus or the Buddha. Buddha did not come from Kansas. Jesus was not born in a manger in central Pennsylvania. He was a man of color, and the fact that we have represented him for centuries, literally as a white man, speaks to the entire history of white supremacy. We can act like it didn't happen. We can make it the punchline of a joke, but the reality is this iconography, Jesus more so than Santa, I agree with Mel here, Jesus more so than Santa is a real problem. There's a reason we've represented these icons as white. It's not a coincidence that we've done that.
Okay, Rochelle, I want you to respond to the points being made. I would like to say also that many cultures throughout the world represent Jesus and Santa as their own culture, whether it's Latinos or African Americans or Africans or whites.
Exactly.
But Rochelle, please wait.
Well, Megyn Kelly did say that Santa is just white. She was very clear about that. And the fact is, where you can talk about that, this is Santa and this is a fictitious character. But the real issue here is that people who think like Megyn Kelly believe it's more comfortable for them to believe that there's a white man flying around the earth with magical reindeer than to believe that a black man.
Wow. Tim Wise just
fucked up.
He told everybody's head off.
There is never no comeback from the truth. People who tell the truth, they fuck up all these good vocabulary having bullshit motherfuckers.
But again, I think he made the point very clearly, that the point that you were making about manipulation. See, they'll tell you in the art of war that history is a tool of propaganda and manipulation. So for us to sit here and say, come on now, let's just be honest. They've manipulated, and you have to sit back in awe of white supremacy, the systematic planning of it.
True penny.
Like when you look at the back of a dollar bill, it says New World Order 300 years ago.
Novus Ordo Seclorum?
Yeah, they knew that they had a plan in place. So when I look at our people today, bereft of knowledge of self, no history, no self-love, no forgiveness, no self-worth, no self-esteem, and not by our own hands, but now it's automatic, right? It's just on autopilot how we interface with each other, and then so is white privilege on autopilot. They're not actually, well, maybe they are, but not the majority of them. They're not actually out there working to make us hate each other. Nah.
They are responsible for the most evil, manipulative plan against human beings in the history of mankind.
All of those plans.
Nobody can deny that.
There's been a list of those plans. There's been a list, the bomb.
They sit around and think of a way to destroy the world.
Mike, Bobby Glanton-Smith, my uncle on the show, he has a question for you. Mike?
Yeah, Mike.
Okay.
My question is, when you were describing your family unit, you specified that the children were African American. Can you expound upon that in the context of, are they African American because they were born by African American parents, or you just refer to them as African American because they got some African blood?
And what's the name of your book while you're at it?
The name of the book is My Black Family, My White Privilege, A White Man's Journey Through the Nation's Racial Minefield. But to answer the question, I married an African-American woman. When we got married, she had 2 little girls, ages 6 and 4, who I raised. And then we had a son of our own, and they're all now adults, and we have grandchildren. We've been divorced now for quite a long time, although we're still friendly with each other. I'm now married to a white woman.
I knew the end of that story before he started finishing that story. I was like, "You married a motherfucker with 2 kids."
Come on in, Mike. Come on. We are rough and tumble crew.
Part of the perspective that I write about in the book is how different the level of tension and the level of stress is in an interracial marriage as opposed to a marriage between 2 white people. So I write about the fact that in my first marriage, in my marriage to an African American woman, the stress was extraordinary, and I wouldn't have recognized that.
What?
He married a girl with 2 stray babies.
That if I hadn't now been married to a white woman, and so I write about that as one of the examples of white privilege.
The white woman you married, she didn't have any kids, did she?
She did not. But
you had a chance to start with somebody fresh. When you take on the responsibility of a girl who not had 1 but 2 stray babies, that is they stray babies. What else do you call them?
No.
Stray babies. I'm sorry.
She had been married previously, and so the 2 little girls were products of her first marriage.
Okay. All right, but fair enough. I got to give you this, Mike.
You married a girl.
Your story is not unfamiliar to a lot of brothers who marry white women as well the second time.
Right.
As in, there's a lot less stress because in the words of the late James Hanna, white women know what wait till we get in the car means.
I never believed that, though.
Shit!
Wait. Bobby got something.
Now, you said you had a kid together. How does that kid define themselves ethnically?
I think he's an adult and he lives in Los Angeles. I think he defines himself primarily as African American because of the environment in which he grew up.
Wow. This is, hey man, that's very interesting, guys. And the name of the book of the book again, because we want people to go out and get this book and read it.
I'm interested in it.
My Black Family, My White Privilege.
I like that. Whenever you marry a woman who already has 2 kids, she has to be scared of you. You have to put hands on her in order for her to act accordingly.
Oh, God.
And I put that on a T-shirt.
Oh, God. Bobby?
Now, Mike, after you transition back to whiteness, do you vacillate between the two, or do you find yourself more immersed in the dominant culture now that you are safely back into your,
Safely.
No, actually, we live in a predominantly black neighborhood. I work in a predominantly black environment. Most of the people we socialize with are African American. So
So you're like a safari guy, like.
Right. I'm gonna get with this bad black cheetah.
Right. When I see those guys out there hunting or looking at the animals trying to communicate with them, I just laugh so hard as they be like, "This is a family of gorillas, and we named this one Matilda, and she's actually kind. She lets me touch her baby."
No, you know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? There's a word. There's a book out there by my friend Furpo Carr, right?
You told Furpo to beat me.
Stop it, Corey.
He thought he was gonna make it with a black girl with 2 babies.
No, but listen. Here's a book. Here's a book I want you guys to go get. It's by my friend Furpo Carr.
Don't come in this room without knocking.
Wicked Words, Poisonous or Poisoned Minds. Racism in the Dictionary by Furpo W. Carr. This book exposes and classifies racist words found among the 160,000 words in Webster's 9th New Collegiate Dictionary. You mentioned the word gorilla, Greek word. Some white man went to Africa, saw a band of gorillas, and said they look like hairy African women, and thus he named gorillas gorilla from the Greek word that means hairy African woman.
Damn, there's a word for hairy African woman?
That's fucked
No!
There you telling me I done fucked some gorillas?
One quick question for you.
Go ahead, Bobby.
Now, your present wife, did she gravitate to black people as quickly as you did, or did you have to kind of, bring her up to speed to be comfortable in that environment?
Careful now.
No, actually, she was pretty up to speed before we got married. Otherwise, I doubt that we would have been able to get married.
Wow.
And she, in fact, we got married before our grandchildren were born, so she's actually, a grandmother to them, and loves being grandmother to them.
Can I ask him one question?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a very important question. You guys got divorced, and I want to ask you, because you probably got it in the book, what was the main problem when it comes to the black woman you were dating? Was it communication?
No, it was less, the tension in our marriage was obviously intensified by the fact that it was an interracial marriage, but it was more, I think, and I do write about it in the book, it was more economic issues and economic values. I grew up pretty middle class in New York City. She grew up very poor economically in rural North Carolina.
You the white man, you supposed to have all the answers.
And so our economic values were somewhat different.
So you learned by being around her, and please be honest when you say this. When you see a broke bitch at the bus stop, you cannot make it with that bitch. Is that a fact? That's how I feel.
Oh, my God.
You can't help that bitch.
Listen, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to wrap our brother, Mike.
This is the truth.
Mike, I appreciate all the information. You stay with us. We'll be back in 2.2.
Because if you know the history of the whole concept of whiteness, if you know the history of the whole concept of the white race, where it came from and for what reason, you know that it was a trick. And it's worked brilliantly. See, prior to the mid to late 1600s in the colonies of what would become the United States, there was no such thing as the white race. Those of us of European descent did not refer to ourselves by that term really ever before then. In fact, in the old countries of Europe, we had spent most of our time killing each other. We didn't love each other. We weren't one big happy family. The side of my family that comes from Scotland, hell, they didn't even worry about fighting people outside of Scotland. Highlanders and Lowlanders just fought the hell out of each other. So there was no white race, but in the colonies of what would become the United States, what did we see in the 1660s, 1670s? We began to see that Africans of indentured servant status, many of them not enslaved yet, they were not necessarily permanently enslaved. Some were, others were indentured like many poor Europeans for periods of 7 to 11 years. They could work off their indenture and then they would be free labor technically. Realized, as did the white indentured servants, the Europeans who hadn't even been called white yet, that they had a lot of things in common, like the fact that they were all getting their clock cleaned by the elite.
And so they would get together more than our history books taught us to foment rebellion against the elite, to try to get a better deal for themselves on the basis of economic necessity and economic justice. And what did the elite do? When you see that you're outnumbered by black and white folks who are penniless, landless, peasants, you have to do one of two things. You either have to kill them all, but you can't do that because who's going to work? Rich folks weren't going to. They had to get poor people to work. The whole point was to be a person of leisure back in those days. That was the goal, was not to work. So you couldn't kill them all. You didn't want to kill them all. You had to do the work yourself. You had to build your own levee, build your own house. No.
If you don't know who Tim Wise is, you're wasting your life. It's a real situation. He gives me hope for white folk. Because if there's a white man that's strong enough to stand up for what's right and really lay some science down to educate not just white folk, but all folk, you know, we got to listen to that white dude. Okay? That white dude just broke the science smooth down. Look him up. And for all of the followers, for all of the black followers of Bobby Jindal, I'm speaking to the black bourgeoisie. That brother said, racism still exists because black folk won't act white. What he basically did was called on Dr. Samuel Cartwright. Way back in the day, Dr. Samuel Cartwright said, you know what, I'm going to create, because this is a part of white privilege, I'm going to create a mental disease for slaves who want to run away. It's called drapetomania. The black bourgeoisie still suffer from drapetomania. It's seen as a disease for those who want to run away. Whenever a slave ran away, he said he suffers from drapetomania. Because why would he want to run away from his master? That is the natural order of things. When I hear Bill Cosby, Al Sharpton, all these black dudes talking about our so-called black leadership saying, go get an education. Not if it's a European education, a westernized education that is bereft of who you are, the knowledge of who you are, that just says integrate into a system that has all types of ceilings and limitations for you, right? Look at what we celebrate. We got 3,700 award shows, right? Oh, man, he made it in film. Oh, man, they broke barriers and interracial relationships on television. We be praising dumb shit because we all suffer from drapetomania. White privilege will never be fixed as long as we suffer from that illness. You understand? If the NAACP is honoring Donald Sterling for giving them money, right? This is the classist side of black folk. They still call themselves colored, for Christ's sake. Right? We still in alignment with the societal norms that tear us down. As long as we look to it, like my man Jackie Robinson, Joe Louis. See, that's the type of nigga they want in American culture. They don't want an intelligent, free-thinking Richard Sherman, Stanford-educated. Nah, you don't get to say that about me, black man. I'm going to stand up and forfeit all of the accolades and accoutrement that I've accumulated over the... Well, I'm going to throw it all away if I don't have my dignity and integrity. Nah, we don't want that dude because he can't be governed. White privilege is meaningless as long as drapetomania is still in place. Most of our niggas is afraid to run away. As long as we're afraid to run away, it don't matter if white privilege exists or not.
Master, let me sleep in the house.
So what? And that's my final thought. Get at us on our... you got to follow our YouTube page. That's where all of the shows are. The Zo What Show. No spaces. The Zo What Show. Join the YouTube page. Corey, where are you performing next? Really quickly, we got to do it fast.
Virginia Beach, Funny Bone this weekend. Get
Virginia
your tickets,
Beach,
motherfuckers.
Funny Bone.
Real Men Don't Play show this Thursday. We're going to have the face of boxing, Sam Watson, in studio.
Excellent.
May 10th, down in the Gaslamp District, San Diego. Look it up on Facebook, Geoff.
Beautiful stuff.
What day of the week is that?
Saturday.
and I got to do this really quickly, at Zoe Williams, Twitter, as well as at Mr. Zoe What, Instagram. And I'm going to end with this final thought. J. Krishnamurti, it is no measure of health to be adjusted to a profoundly sick society. Drapetomania, niggas. I'm out.